Wizkid and Burna Boy versus Davido. That's a troll. I only said that because Davido has more than Wizkid and Burna Boy combined. But we're not going to do that this video. We're going to say Wizkid versus Burna Boy versus Davido. Who's better? So I know that a lot of people call him Davido, but Nigerians call him Davido. And he said you could call him either one, right? But Nigerians call him Davido. So who's better? Wizkid, Burna Boy, Davido. So when it comes down to it, Davido is a bigger artist than all of them. And I say this, and I know it sounds offensive to some, but he is. He's a bigger artist. He has more reach, especially in Nigeria and in Africa, right? He has more commercial hits. He just has more. He's a big artist. But the reason that he's still like sort of not as big and he's kind of like on their level is that he doesn't package himself the way that they do. So Davido has 3.2 million monthly listeners. Wizkid has 7.2 million monthly listeners. And Burna Boy has 8.9 million listeners. But the difference is these listeners are people in America or people in the West, people that have easy access to internet, people that are paying for a Spotify subscription. Most Nigerians don't have an iPhone and are not listening to Spotify. You know, they'll listen to their music. I don't know how they listen, probably like CDs or something. I don't know. Or they probably download it or the radio, but they're not going to be streaming music because they don't even have the data to stream music, right? So it's not reflecting Davido's true numbers. Burna Boy, some people would say he shouldn't even be in this conversation simply because he only just arrived. Like he only arrived like maybe in 2018. He's had singles that were hot, and then he sort of like had music that wasn't sort of mainstream. His 2019 album, African Giant, is what really defined him as a huge star. It was a hit album, right? And then in 2020's Twice as Tall, internationally, that put him on a pedestal internationally, but I think he's had two really strong albums. But before that, he's had other albums that just weren't the kind of hits that Davido and Wizkid were producing, at least from a Nigerian perspective, right? So that's what I mean by Burna Boy is new to the party. Like, he's not new in terms of putting out music, but he's new in terms of becoming a huge superstar. And one thing that he was able to do is crossover in a way that Davido hasn't quite been able to do. And that comes down to refinement and artistry. When you look at Wizkid, everything from his voice to his styling, everything about his artistry, the music, the mixing and mastering of his music is refined. And I look at Wizkid and I'm like, he is a refined artist because he went through the A&R process through Boo, and he's signed to Convict Music. He was signed to Convict Music, at least the management side. So he really got refined by Boo, who is Kanye's current manager, and also who used to manage Chris Brown in that 2015 era when Chris Brown came out with probably like some of his best hits like Loyal, New Flame, and all of that. So Boo's like a big guy in Hollywood, right? And he's out there refining Wizkid. And so Wizkid got this international refinement, and that's what put him in a place where he could be in songs with Drake. That's probably what showcased Afrobeats to the world. The 2016 One Dance with Drake. So he was with Drake on that song. I know he had a song with Rihanna for her album, but that never came out. But aside from that, then he now has this mega hit with Justin Bieber, on the remix. So Wizkid is probably the only artist out of all of them that has really, really blown internationally. This video is brought to you by mintedculture.com, where you can watch all of my content: Brand Video Pro, the Kenim O Show, Stream OVG, and Stream OVG Business. All my content in one place. Head on over to mintedculture.com. And You can also book a one-on-one strategy call with me where we can go through business, media, entrepreneurship, Web3, the metaverse, and how to dominate in this new media landscape. So if you guys want to book a consultation, a one-on-one consultation with me, with yours truly, head on over to mintedculture.com. All right, let's get into this. And yes, we can say Davido has more features. Like, he's had songs with Meek Mills, he's had songs with Chris Brown. At the end of the day, these are not commercial artists like Drake and Justin Bieber. And I have a whole video about Chris Brown versus Justin Bieber. It's a different level, right? So when it comes down to it, because of this, because of Wizkid's refinement, because of his collaborations, because of his packaging, on an international level, he's seen as a bigger artist. But on a local level, Davido is a bigger artist. He just is. His music is more enjoyed. He has like better music. Like, he has more hits locally, especially hits that really land. He has more impact and presence. And he stayed true to the Afrobeat sound. That's probably the main reason why Davido is bigger in Nigeria, and I want to say in Africa, but I can't speak for the rest of Africa. But at least in Nigeria, Davido is bigger, and you can see it in his following, because his music is Afrobeats. It is true Afrobeats. And Wizkid's music is almost an avant-garde sort of fusion between Afrobeats, Bob Marley, and a few other pop culture references. You know, his voice sort of transcends Afrobeats, and that's why he can be a commercial artist internationally, but his content, his music isn't specific enough to penetrate the way that Davido's is. And the reason I say that is because they say the more specific you are, the more universal you become. And because Davido has been very specific to that Nigerian Afrobeat sound and that authentic Afrobeat sound, and he didn't sort of like, when he went to Atlanta and when he went to America to make music, he didn't shift or change his sound to adapt to the Western sound. He said, look, this is the way I sound. This is what got me here. You guys are going to have to accept it or take it or leave it. And that's what makes Davido a bigger artist in terms of, at least in Africa and at least specifically in Nigeria, because his music is authentic. And you feel Afrobeats. You feel the truth of Afrobeats in his music. And so Burna Boy is like in the middle here. You see, the thing about Burna Boy is he's sort of this Afrobeats artist that also has roots in the UK and has a very UK sound as well. And he's sort of merged that with like an R&B sound. He's merged it, and he's sort of like almost like Wizkid. And he also has great artistry and great artist development. And he's also refined as an artist. And his packaging is strong in terms of like his style and everything. And you could say some people believe he's better looking than both of them. So that helps. So all of this packaging and this like his music has traveled as well. You know, Twice as Tall was a very commercial sounding, a very international sounding album. I don't think it did as well to Nigerians because, at least the ones that I've spoken to that live in Nigeria, because he had like rock music in his album, or like rock singers, and like just like really Western artists that people just don't want to get down with. Where like we want to hear, like in Nigeria, people care about Nigeria. They care about Nigerian sounds, Nigerian everything. They don't really want to hear, like, yeah, you could hear pop hits if you're in the mood for that, but most people just want to listen to Nigerian music. And it gives you it just represents the vibrance and the attachment we have to our culture. And so Burna Boy almost lost that with Twice as Tall, and he didn't capture it in the way that he did with African Giant. But let me remind you, even in the process of him making African Giant, this is still somebody that has a lot of music that has fused UK garage, UK grunge, UK, hip hop, all of that. He's fused that into his, his toolbox and his sound, and also a very R&B sound as well. He's fused all these different influences into his sound, and so he's never really been truly authentic to Nigeria in the way that Davido has been. His streams are not reflecting it, but his Instagram reflects it, because even though people don't stream music, because that takes a lot of data, people do have Instagram, and they don't have to be on Instagram all day, but they're there and they're reflected in his following, and the way his following is way bigger than their following. So I think to an American eye, you would think, you see that and you probably think, oh, Davido is a smaller artist, but actually when it comes down to it, Davido is a much bigger artist. And then also, I think Davido has pull, he has reach, especially with the rest of the Afrobeats music community. Like, he has a deeper pool than the rest of them. And that's due to his many collaborations and his consistency. Every couple of months, Davido always has a new song. The rest of them don't output as much music as Davido does. He always has a hit on the radio every couple months. That's a really tough thing to do. So when it comes down to it, Davido, Wizkid, Burna Boy, who's better? That's up to you. And for me, it depends on my mood. I don't necessarily like one more than the other. It depends on my mood. And when I look at the way they started, back in 2010 or 2009 with Wizkid, Holla at Your Boy, Davido, Dami Duro. Burna Boy was a little later, was like around 2012 with Like to Party. And looking at where they've come and how they have transformed Afrobeats, because there were people before them, and I'm probably going to make a video about the history of Afrobeats, but I just want to brief you and say, before them, in terms of Afrobeats and not Afrobeat, which is Fela's era, but before them was D'banj and Two-Face and that era. And D'banj actually signed to Kanye's Good Music, and so he was probably the person that opened that door. He was the one that opened the door for Nigerian musicians to be able to, get these international mega deals, right? He's the one that opened the door. But at the end of the day, he didn't really break internationally. He had a little brief stint in the UK, and he did introduce the UK to Afrobeats with Oliver Twist, but that wasn't it. That wasn't something that crossed over to the US. But when it came down to it, it wasn't until 2016 with Wizkid that it finally happened. And it didn't really happen that fast. He was barely in the song One Dance. He was barely in the song. But it took time, but it introduced a lot of people to him. It introduced a lot of people to Afrobeats. And gradually it started opening up. More and more people played Afrobeats music. And there you have it. Boom. It's now a huge market here in the US and globally, especially around people that listen to Black music. It's huge, especially in the UK. It's massive in the UK. It's probably the main genre of music in the UK, to be honest. It's definitely the main genre of music in Africa, and it really has penetrated in France and all these other countries, European countries, and it's penetrating here in America in a way that it's still not huge yet, but I think people are definitely more interested in it. It's exciting, it's different, it's new. Oh, and of course in the Caribbean, it's huge. It's always been huge in the Caribbean, actually. It's always been a big deal in the Caribbean. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Who do you think is bigger? I'm gonna go with Davido. As much as I do like the pieces that we get from Wizkid and Burna Boy, I think the reason why I don't vote for them is because of consistency, and they don't have the quantity. They don't have Davido's discography, and that's what it comes down to. I think Davido does win in terms of his discography. He has so many hits that make you just want to dance. I go with Davido. But let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time. Peace.